The longest-running off-road and action motorsports radio show on the planet is coming to you live with the biggest guest in motorsports. Here is the only man on the planet who can pack this much dirt slinging and tire slaying into 2 hours a week. Sit back, strap in, and be prepared to get your ears blown. Here is Jim Beaver and the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.
What's going on? Welcome to another edition of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I am your host, Jim Beaver, locked and loaded here for another edition of the Down and Dirty Radio Show. And, man, we got a slam-packed, jammed, full show today. I'm taking next week off for the 4th of July, so yes, there won't be any Down and Dirty show. There won't be any Full of Parts off-road podcast. There will be a Project Action dropping, but all that being said, right now we have what I am considering one of the biggest shows of the year. We've got Chris Leone with a double dose of power rankings. Tiffany Stone is on the line as well. She was out at ARA Rally, but we've got a couple of massive guests. One, my good friend Steve Torrence, coming off a big victory, and yes, and he is an ESPN ESPY nominee. If you're tuning in and you haven't voted already, please go to nhra.com/vote Steve. That'll forward you to ESPN's website. You can put in your vote for my boy Steve Torrence for Racing Car Driver of the Year. And then also my other guest, the prodigy, the IndyCar prodigy, Mr. Colton Herta. He is calling in, coming off a big pole that he won there at Road America in Wisconsin. And he's just going to talk about his career, IndyCar, and a whole lot more. Not only that, man, we've got, we just have so much to cover today. Like, I am really, really excited to be here. Like I said, we're going to take a week off next week. We definitely want to have a packed house today. And it's to the point where I had so much stuff, we had to trim some of it out. Like, it was crazy. It's crazy. We're going to have to trim some of it out today. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Hit me up if you got any questions for any of our guests at JimBeaver15 on social media, or if you just want to get a hold of me, and make sure and go over to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast, and you're going to get all of our shows. If you want Project Action, you'll have to hit that one up over on Podcast One or the other feed on iTunes. But yeah, man, Slam Pack show today. Thank you guys for tuning in. It is going to be 2 hours of one heck of a good time right here on this week's edition of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. You want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris Razor brings it to you, but you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris Razor because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team Razor because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris Razor because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRazor.com or follow at Polaris Razor on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
For 100 years, General Tire has provided tires for your lifestyle, your adventure, your anywhere. Born from competition, the Grabber tire offers the durability and off-road traction you demand in a tire. We put these tires to the test in the harshest off-road racing conditions to give you a tire that will make your anywhere possible. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us photos at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or @VisionWheel on social media to learn more. Super ATV is the industry leader in aftermarket UTV and ATV parts and accessories. Super ATV products are designed, engineered, tested, and manufactured right here by Super ATV. Whether you're looking to upgrade your suspension, get stronger axles, or you're looking for a new winch to get you out of a tough spot, Super ATV has what you're looking for. And since we know you're in a hurry, we offer fast, free shipping to the lower 48 states on all orders. Visit superatv.com now and get your UTV or ATV dialed in.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Oh man, that was a hell of a ride. Go check out mymedic.com for the best first aid kits on the planet and save 15% with discount code JimBeaver. Again, mymedic.com, discount code JimBeaver, and save 15%. It's cheaper than a funeral.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'd like to welcome Chris Leone, my media director, to the show. Chris, man, power rankings. This was, I would say that this was a weekend of dominance. That would be the easiest way, I think, to sum this one up.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. I mean, there have been all sorts of just impressive performances over the past week. Guys who have just put an absolute hurting on the field. You know, NHRA, IndyCar, Pro Motocross, just everywhere. The cream of the crop really shone over the past weekend in racing two wheels and four.
Yeah. So I guess we got a lot to talk about. I think we're going to spend a little more time on our picks and reasons why. I know there's a couple of guys that I really want to dive into and kind of talk about some of the storylines in their specific motorsports. So I think we are going to dive into things. I guarantee you my number 5 is not like your number 5. There is no possible way, just so listeners know, Chris and I do not collaborate on these. We have no idea what each other's picks are going to be. First time we hear them is actually when you guys hear them. So, Chris, starting things out, power rankings for this past week, who is number 5 on your list?
Well, Jim, you know, it's interesting because 30 seconds before we started this segment, I was crossing out names and adding 2 new ones to my list.
Isn't that funny?
Because
mine's the same way, dude. It's like this fluid concept, and up until we say who they are, like I have literally been in the mid segment and swapped guys from like 4th to 3rd or 3rd to 4th. Like mine's always a fluid concept. It's not locked in until I say them.
You know, the funniest thing is because we do previews of so many other racing series and we don't necessarily focus on NASCAR preview content, when I do my power rankings the first time, I almost always forget NASCAR. And then I go back in and realize, oh, right, that's kind of an important one, isn't it? So as a matter of fact, I had to put one of the stock car people, and that's funny because that was my background before coming into off-road. But yeah, I think our number 5s are certainly going to be different. There is one type of racing that I am very heavy on this weekend. So my number 5 is actually Bob Tasca III, going back-to-back in NHRA Funny Car with a second victory in a row. I believe it's the first time he's ever done that. I mean, he hadn't won a Wally since 2012 until getting to Bristol. And then to go into Norwalk and go back-to-back, I mean, you know, that Tasca team is really firing on all cylinders right now. And it's, you know, it's super impressive to me to see any time that anybody's able to string victories along. And we'll get to that a little bit later in the power rankings as well with some other drivers. But I've got Bob Tasca III down at number 5.
You know, Tasca was on my honorable mention list this week, and I say that as guys like that. Just so people know, my honorable mention list is always guys like, you know, there's guys in my head, you know, that could be on there, but for some odd reason they just didn't quite make the cut. Because I usually start out with I'm probably like you, 6-7 drivers, and then I've got to narrow it down to 5. So Tasca was definitely on my honorable mention list. I guess that doesn't help Bob in this case, but he was in my thought process. He just didn't quite hack it on my list. My number 5, I am going to go to ARA in Idaho. And I'm actually not picking the winner. David Higgins did not win, which was a surprise. I'm not picking the winner, Jeff Sehorn, who it was his very first ARA victory. I guess to me, I would have rather him beat David heads up, but I don't know. No, Sehorn is not my pick. David Higgins is not my pick. I am going with third place finisher Carl Markham, because Carl Markham took third place overall in a national rally in a UTV. That is right. He had a UTV. He finished third overall in a national rally. We're talking spanked some Subarus and some open-wheel cars in a UTV. I have long said, I know Steph Verdier was there too. Steph was right in the mix. Markham clipped Steph by I don't know. It was less than a minute, I believe. So Steph, you know, he was in there, but ultimately didn't get the victory. But I have long said UTV, somebody at some point is going to show up to a rally, and I don't know how, I don't know how hot rodded out Markham's UTV is, but somebody's going to build a proper rally UTV, and I think they're going to come in and they're going to overall a national rally, and I mean heads up against David Higgins type overall a national rally. And I know the rally purists, I've been on the boards and everything else, and I've fought wars, and they're going to be tuning in, and they're going to hate me, and I'm going to get heat on the internet, and I don't care. They need to get out of their hole and realize how damn fast UTVs are, because they want to ignore them. They don't want them in rally. They're going to take over. They're going to ruin the sport. Well, truth is, if the damn thing's faster than a Subaru, why not have them? I don't care what it looks like, what it is. If it's fast, it's fast. So, Carl Markham, you are third on my list, my man. You finished third overall in a national rally at Idaho, and I hope that all the rally purists flat eat their words, swallow them, and choke on them, because you are my man at number 3, Carl Markham, or third place, and you're number 5 on my list. So there you go, Chris. What do you think of Carl Markham on the list?
I am with you, Jim. I love UTVs for rally. I love UTVs just in general. It's funny because 2 years ago, I mean, before I was working with you and before we had, the possibility of a Polaris project in GRC that unfortunately never really got off the ground, they just weren't on my radar at all. I mean, that said, obviously I was, pretty focused just on the rallycross side of things. And I wasn't really thinking about a lot of other, other forms of motorsport, other types of vehicles, anything like that. But very quickly came to fall in love with UTVs. And, I've been a big proponent, as big as I can be, of UTVs coming to rally. They're just fun as hell to drive. They're fun as hell to watch. I've talked with Steph. I've talked with Reese Millen. They both came out and did Rally Colorado last year, which I was at. And, they're just some impressive pieces of kit. There's some really awesome machinery. And, the fact of the matter is we're going to see a lot more UTVs on the podium. And, I am with you on the rally purists. I'm not going to go too far, but it has been an incredibly frustrating community to deal with in a lot of things. And I will say that part of the reason why there hasn't been so much rally coverage from me this year is because of the community, which I hope will at some point take an eye to itself, realize how harmful it's been to itself with just how backwards some of its views have been. I'm with you. Having a UTV driver on the podium, absolutely worthy of the list. I mean, admittedly, I didn't really follow this week because it's been really frustrating to see a lot of things that have gone down over the past year in the rally community. Some people that have gotten pushed out, some things that have happened that I think have sort of set things back, and it's really unfortunate, but it's awesome to see a UTV driver in the top 3, and I'm glad that you were able to give him a shout.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting, too, because it's like they don't even want to classify them in the rally. It's like you've got all the standings where it's like open. I look at I looked, and they ran the exact same amount of stages, everything else, exact stages, but it's like, okay, so you've got all the cars here, national entries or whatever, and it's classified open light, open, two-wheel drive, all this, and then like down in their own separate category, you've got UTVs. And so you've got to actually take their time and then go and apply it against the national ones, to see where they would fall in. So it's like they're even ARA is treating them like this redheaded stepchild. Like to me, it's madness, and I know we've had this conversation in off-road, and they've been embraced wholeheartedly at this point. And I mean, we're seeing top, UTVs sneak into the top 10 overall, I think, or not top 10, but right. I mean, Wayne Matlock had a great run a while back, but it's one of those where in motorsports you adapt or you die. You have to evolve. And I think that's been the biggest problem with stage rally. They have failed to adapt. They've failed to evolve. And now, it's really stunning their growth. And I hope this opens the eyes of some of them like, hey, we need to embrace these UTVs. I'd love to see a dozen of them at some of these national rallies. I mean, I would build one right now, but I just don't I don't want to go and invest that kind of money in a car that, next week the Rally Pierce may go, yeah, we don't want them anymore. And then you're sitting there with a relic with cobwebs, I don't know. It's just vent over, but that was my number 5. Carl Markham, my man, congratulations on the podium. Well-deserved. I know I got tagged on Instagram by somebody, and I was like, no, I am not going to forget about you guys, but got him at number 5 on my list. Let's roll into number 4, Chris. Who do you have at number 4?
All right, Jim. So for number 4, I am sticking with drag racing. I am going with Andrew Hines. I mean, what can you say about the kind of season that he's having so far? It's not quite as maybe prolific as a certain other driver who may or may not be on the show this week, but 5 out of 7 victories to start the season in pro stock motorcycle. I know you're not running all 24 events, but that's pretty darn impressive. That's pretty high level of dominance, pretty high success rate, and I know that he had a pretty disappointing season last year. So to see somebody come back out like that, pick up Wally after Wally after Wally to start the year, really set himself up, put himself in a good place for once we get to the countdown later in the year. I'm really impressed with what Andrew Hines has been doing in pro stock motorcycles, so he's my number 4.
All right, and before we get to my number 4, we are going to take a short commercial break. Are you looking for a place to push yourself behind the wheel and see how your driving skills stack up? Dirtfish Rally School is that place. Located on 315 acres of pristine automotive playground at the foot of the Cascade Mountains in Snoqualmie, Washington, right outside of Seattle, Dirtfish Rally School is a one-of-a-kind place where everyone from first-time drivers to seasoned professionals like Bucky Lassick and Antoine Lestage can push themselves to their limit. Whether driving the high-performance, rally-prepped all-wheel drive Subaru Impreza STI is what you're looking for, or you'd rather hang it all out in the rear-wheel drive Subaru BRZs, Dirtfish Rally School has something for everyone. Classes are available from 2 hours to 3 full days and feature instructors with over 150 years of combined racing experience. Whether you're looking to become the best and get an edge on the competition, or just looking to freshen your skills behind the wheel, Dirtfish Rally School is the place to go. For more information on registering for classes, visit Dirtfish on the web at dirtfish.com, or to check out the latest happenings from Dirtfish, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dirtfish Rally. Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Jim Beaver, Chris Leone here, midway through our power rankings. Chris had Tasca at number 5, Andrew Hines, we just found out, at number 4. I had Carl Markham at number 5 on my list, which brings me to my number 4, who I'm going to go to F1, which I threw out a tweet and said F1 lost me as a fan. And I'm actually going with the race winner, but not because he actually won the race. Lewis Hamilton is number 4 on my list. Obviously, he did win the Formula One race this past weekend, but I'm going to throw the I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know. He stepped up as a driver. He went to the FIA. He went to some meetings that he probably wasn't invited to. And, he's finally becoming a voice of the sport. I think this is what everybody wanted. He is basically the current generation of Michael Schumacher. He's one of the greats, going to go down as one of the greats of all time. But he went to the FIA, went to the owners, constructors, everybody, and said, look, our sport is screwed up. We've lost the fans. It's boring. And, and here's a guy who he's winning everything, Chris, Lewis Hamilton is. Like, you would think he would want to keep it the way it is because obviously he's winning races, He's going, no, like, we're screwed. We need to rethink this thing. We've lost the fans, it's just F1. I mean, obviously we had what happened there in Canada, and now it turns around, and Daniel Ricciardo had something very similar at the French Grand Prix where they threw double penalties at him because he made an aggressive pass. It's like they don't even want passing. They don't want racing. I don't know what the hell is going on with F1 right now, but number 4 on my list is Lewis Hamilton because he actually stepped up to the FIA and Formula One and said, pump the brakes, stop. We've got major, major problems here, and these things need to be fixed. So because he had a set of balls and he went to the FIA, not because he won, Lewis Hamilton's number 4 on my list.
Man, I am with you, Jim. I'm impressed with how Lewis Hamilton has handled himself definitely over the past few years. I know that guys like that are easy to hate. They're easy to hate because not only do they have win, but do they have a lot of wins, but they have personalities that can be grating for somebody, if your favorite driver isn't winning and you see how the guy who is celebrates. I mean, there are a lot of people like that. It's the same reason that people hate Kyle Busch. They hate when he gets up on top of the car with the checkered flag and does the bow. They hate the way he handles interviews. They hate the way he conducts himself. A lot of people hate the way that Lewis Hamilton does too, but, I've always respected how Lewis Hamilton, just wants better competition in Formula One, wants more competition in Formula One, doesn't want to just be able to run away with events and run away with championships. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've actually seen him put forth a couple of nice words about IndyCar here and there.
Hell is freezing over when that happens too.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, hell is freezing over.
One can only dream. One can only dream that he might come over, but yeah, I mean, look, it's open wheel racing, and I'm sure that we will both get to IndyCar a little bit later. But my number 3, I am actually going to go to the tin tops. I am going to go to the stock cars. I'm going to go to Martin Truex Jr., another victory at Sonoma, hung on, beat Kyle Busch. I mean, they were well ahead of the pack at the end of that race. And, it's impressive to see everything that Martin Truex Jr. has done with his career. I mean, he's kind of had this curse on him in terms of teams that he's been to shutting down.
Right?
DEI shut down, and like Furniture Row shut down. Between there, he had the Michael Waltrip Racing deal that fell through with, everything that happened there. It's all the credit in the world to Truex, everything that he's done, been able to take that championship, slot it into Joe Gibbs Racing, and has found himself at home. It's really been impressive to see what he's done with his career. And, I'm impressed with the way that he handled Sonoma. And I know that, obviously the big story was Darrell Waltrip, and his swan song and sort of taking a bow on his career, 19 years of broadcasting, which, is no easy feat. And frankly, if I'm doing this, if I'm doing guest spots even for 19 years, then that's a hell of an effort. But, all the credit in the world to Truex. They played that race perfectly. They were able to hang on, take the victory, and, it could be another championship season for him.
Yeah, no, and, in the same exact spot, I had Martin Truex on my list. Everything you'd said, obviously I know you missed. It was back-to-back Sonoma wins. He won last year, won again this year. And also the guy's red hot right now. He's got 4 wins on the season, and those 4 wins have all come in the last 8 races. So Martin Truex, Sonoma, I'm a road course fan with NASCAR, so I always bump up the road courses, just a hair. I think they're a little bit tougher to win just because they're out of these guys' elements a little bit. So yeah, Martin Truex, number 3 on my list, same as you, Chris, which rolls us into our top 2. And, I'm pretty sure we've got the same top 2, but I'm kind of interesting to see which one we rank over the others. So, Chris, who do you have at number 2 on your list?
Well, Jim, this one was tough because, I really didn't want to do the 1A, 1B thing. I know we've done it before. I think both of us have done it at least once, but I hate it. It's kind of a cop-out, and I mean, this really came down to me looking at, well, how are we really doing how much weight do we want to put on the context of what you've been doing over the past few months rather than just the past 7 days? And for me, it came down to, and I feel bad because, again, he's on the show this week, but I put Steve Torrence at number 2. If the winning streak was still going, I would have had him at number 1, I think, no doubt. But, still 6 out of 7 victories in the past 7 races ain't bad. That's a single round loss because he still made it to the final at the one race that he lost. So what is that, 27 for 28 in elimination rounds over the past couple of months? I mean, Steve-O absolutely earned that ESPY Best Driver nomination. And frankly, I feel like if you're voting for anybody else, you just really don't understand exactly what he accomplished. I mean, it's insane with, just the context there. And I mean, yeah, Hamilton dominated F1 last year, but the machinery is just so important in F1. I mean, you really know that it's going to be one of 2 cars that wins at this point with the way the regulations are. With NHRA, I mean, every weekend really is kind of a pick'em. And for Steve-O to be as dominant as he has, it's unlike anything we've really ever seen before. And he's been on the list, for both of us quite frequently, but, just really trying to focus my picks on this weekend, I had to put him at number 2.
Yeah. Well, and, Steve, he's become one of my really, really good friends. And, I got him at number 2 on my list too. I mean, I just had to, like you said, if the streak was going on, yes, he's absolutely number 1. And this is not taking him away. I mean, for God's sake, 6 out of 7 wins. I mean, like, that's just mind-boggling to me. His last 3 years are mind-boggling. But like you said, we've got to separate something somehow, somewhere. I think, like you said, to me, I know ESPYs is more of a popularity contest. I don't know that he will win the ESPY. I know I'm voting every day. We're working on content. We're trying to get the word out. I encourage anybody listening to us right now, please go and vote for Steve Torrence for that ESPY. He deserves it. You look at everybody on the list, not taking anything away from Dixon, Busch, or Louis Hamilton, but what Steve accomplished last year and is doing this year is absolutely second to none. Yeah, Steve, my man, he's been on the top of my list plenty of times. He is second on my list today because, which rolls us into our number 1, which I believe is mutual at this point, Alexander Rossi. Chris, this guy,
it is
30 seconds. Like, that's mind-boggling. Like, there was the last pit stop of the race. He pulled in. All the other pit crews were literally sitting on the wall watching. He takes off. He's completely out of sight, and then, like, the rest of the field comes in and starts pitting. Like, it was crazy. Who wins by 30 seconds in IndyCar?
I mean, just think about the context in that, Jim. That's 2 laps in a NASCAR race at Bristol Motor Speedway. That is probably more time than you spend racing in an elimination, in elimination rounds during an NHRA event. 30 seconds is an eternity. 30 seconds is an eternity in just about any form of racing. I mean, it.
Even the Penske guys Will Power summed it up, I think, the best. He goes, I think I had the best car. He says, I think I had a race-winning car today. He's like, we had an amazing car. And he's like, if Alexander Rossi didn't show up, he's like, I had an amazing car. And he's like, which makes me wonder, he's like, the heck are those guys doing? He's like, I have a car that's really, really good. But he's like, obviously, our cars suck because for somebody to win by 30 seconds, he's like, that's like half a second a lap. He's like, how do you do that? Even like the Penske drivers were just like, wow, like what's going on here?
You remember being a kid and playing video games and putting things on easy mode because you just really, you weren't playing for anybody else. You were basically playing to win. That's what that looked like. I know that wasn't the case, obviously. We're not just living in a simulation where whoever is tapped into Rossi is playing racing games on easy mode, but that's what it looked like. I mean, that is the kind of beatdown that you don't see in racing these days unless you're in Long Beach in April and your name is still Alexander Rossi. I mean, God, it's like they're gonna have to do what people do in like short tracks where they invert the field and they start the fast guys at the back, and just to make it interesting for everybody else, they're gonna have to start Rossi dead last and just be like, all right, have at it.
True story there. All right, we got to take a short break. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it. So when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our Razor vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of Razor vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a Razor 170 like me, take the entire family out in a Razor XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new Razor XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris Razor. Check out the full Polaris Razor lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris Razor. Anywhere is possible. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire's wide variety of tires for whatever it is that you drive. Whether you're looking for off-road capability balanced with impressive on-road performance or ultra-high performance offering all-season traction designed with a driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has what you need to get where you're going. General Tire, providing anywhere is possible with a Down and Dirty radio show since 2012. Do you race, or are you a weekend warrior? Have you checked on the date on your helmet recently? Don't get caught off guard by using an outdated helmet. Impact Racing, the leader in motorsport safety, has new SA 2015 helmets to fit your budget. Whether you're looking for a helmet with a full carbon fiber shell to take you to victory at the Indy 500, or just looking for some helmets for a weekend at Glamis, Impact Racing has a helmet for you. Find out more information at impactraceproducts.com or on Facebook at Impact Safety. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the Cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Super ATV is the industry leader in aftermarket UTV and ATV parts and accessories. Super ATV products are designed, engineered, tested, and manufactured right here by Super ATV. Whether you're looking to upgrade your suspension, get stronger axles, or you're looking for a new winch to get you out of a tough spot, Super ATV has what you're looking for. And since we know you're in a hurry, we offer fast, free shipping to the lower 48 states on all orders. Visit superatv.com now and get your UTV or ATV dialed in.
You're listening to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. All killer and no filler.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'd like to welcome my next guest to the line, Mr. Colton Herta. I think last time we caught up was actually in maybe in the garage there at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But welcome back to the show, Colton.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so all right, we got a lot to talk about today. You know what? I was thinking back. I was like, the first time I had to really, really think. I was like, before Indy, I think I'd met you somewhere. And I started thinking back. I'm like, yes, there was a time when your dad was involved in GRC. You ran a lights car, and we were actually at a party at Red Bull together during GRC or something. And, man, I had to pick my brain. It was way back.
Yeah, I do remember that. I would have been like 13 or 14.
Yeah, I was going to say they had the Formula One car there and all kinds of stuff, and we were just it was just kind of I don't know, it was some kind of cocktail party. I can't even remember what we were there, and then they had like their big movie theater, and they had something going on in there. I honestly can't remember. That was a long time ago, man.
No, I do remember that, actually.
Yeah. So, yeah, how was that when you did lights cars? I know you just did like one race, right? I know your dad was involved in the series for a while. How was that?
I did the X Games, and my engine blew up in like the semi or something, so I didn't even make the race.
Yeah. I know there's still some Indy cars. Obviously Andretti's got a little bit of involvement there with Faust and what they've got going on. And then I think Dreyer and Reinbold still have a little bit of I don't know, is that something like if it ever popped up again, you'd like to go and do like a supercar or something?
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. 600 horsepower all-wheel drive and sliding through the dirt. Obviously, I didn't get that much power in the lights car. I think it's like 350, 400 in the lights car, which is still relative to the weight and size of the car. It's still quite a bit, but Yeah, those supercars are beasts.
Yeah. Well, and I started looking back, like, to do this interview, and I was like, man, you've done a ton of racing for, just being the age that you are and actually driving an IndyCar, man. And I want to go back, and I know, obviously we can talk about lights and stuff like that. I'm talking about Indy lights, but how was racing in Europe, man? For an American kid to go over to Europe, I mean, how was that experience for you, going over there? And, you were involved in, I believe, Formula 3 and some other different series, but I mean, that's a whole different racing culture over there than we get in the United States. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. I moved over there at 14 years old, and I was living on my own actually over there. So it was a big change to what I was used to growing up in Los Angeles, and going over there in wintertime. It was quite a difference. But yeah, it definitely matured me. I had to learn to clean for myself, to cook for myself. More as a person, it matured me, and then it kind of related to my driving as well. I was in the car at least twice a week. We did 30 races and 25 test days my first year that I went over there. So I was always in the car, and it was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I don't even know where you could do that here in the United States unless you started doing like local dirt track stuff or something like that. Like, that's an insane amount of races and test days, dude.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So, in moving on, you come back here to the States. I know, last year, you kind of had a one-off in IndyCar with Harding, which led to kind of where things are at today. But take me through lights and kind of the transition to IndyCar. You know what I mean? Because I know, they've got this big, ladder system and things like that, road to Indy. But, how was lights? Obviously it prepares you to an extent for IndyCar. But what's been the biggest change for you going from lights to going to IndyCar this year? I mean, what was the biggest change? Like getting behind the wheel of an actual IndyCar, you're like, oh wow, there had to have been, an evolution in your driving style to make that leap.
Yeah, it was quite a bit different, but in the same sense, it was also very similar. I think the main differences are it's about 250 horsepower, quite a bit downforce, carbon brakes on the IndyCar. Those are the biggest things to get used to, but the driving style didn't really change. I think the Cooper tires on the lights car are a bit stiffer, and maybe a little different than the Firestones, but the relative style of driving the cars were very similar, actually, and I think that kind of smoothed the process. That's why we were able to go so quick so early on, and have the form that we've had.
Yeah, well, and I think that was, I remember it was, I think, the preseason test at Circuit of the Americas, and you showed up there, and it was immediately you guys were a new-ish team, I guess, with Harding Steinbrenner. Obviously a new team this year, but Harding had been in the series for a little bit. But you guys go into this year, you know what I mean? And it was I think everybody thought, oh, Colton, he's got a lot of talent, stuff like that. And you guys showed up at Circuit of the Americas, and it was yeah, dude, the secret was out of the bag. I think everybody immediately went, oh wow, they're here to play. These guys are fast.
Yeah, they either thought that or thought we were cheating for the test. But we were completely legal. I think it was a bit of a shock. It was a shock for me too. I was like, what the heck is going on? I thought we were going to be on a good day, be in the top 10, just slowly work on the pace, and it wasn't anything like that.
Yeah. Well, and that rolls us into Circuit of the Americas earlier this year. You took that victory, obviously youngest IndyCar winner ever. But, we knew you had speed there from the preseason test. But, something like that, is that track, did it just favor you? I mean, there's got to be something you and Circuit of the Americas and your team, obviously, there's just some magic there at this point. I mean, what is the deal around Circuit of the Americas and you guys? Because between the preseason test and then that win, I mean, things just happen to work there for you guys.
Yeah, sorry, a diesel truck is passing me right now. But yeah, I'm not really sure what it was. Our qualifying pace was good, but it wasn't outstanding. We qualified fourth. The race pace, though, it was just the car was so good on cold tires. Even when I dropped off of Rossi in the first stint, about second and a half, I made it up on the out lap. And I jumped him in the pit sequence from doing an undercut. So I don't know what it was. Our outlap pace was so good. Our restarts were really good right at the end there when it was crucial. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure how to pinpoint one thing, but just the whole team did a great job. All the stops were perfect. We didn't lose any time in the pits. We didn't lose any time anywhere, really. We were really good. We had a little bit of tire drag in the middle stint, but once the track rubbered up, we were even faster.
Yeah. Well, and how does push to pass come into play? Because I know, especially coming out of Road America, there's been a lot of talk on push to pass and how it can be tweaked and things like that. And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but Lights actually uses a little bit different push to pass system where you have to be within like a second of the car in front of you and things like that. And I know you're talking about in laps and out laps, you know, and I know a lot of drivers are hitting the push to pass on in and out laps. I mean, was there an adjustment on when to actually use that coming from Lights? Because now all of a sudden you can use it whenever you want.
There is a bit of an adjustment period, but you know, I think it's relative. Like, you see a lot of guys push on in laps, push on out laps. So that's when the most switching of positions happens in IndyCar. Even though we might have a lot of on-track action, there's actually even more passing in the pits than on track. You can see guys move up 3 positions, which, you know, that might take 10 laps on track, and if you can do it in 1 lap in a pit sequence, it's huge. So kind of triggering the push to pass on the in laps and the out laps to try and maximize the speed that you have is huge. And yeah, whereas in Indy Lights, it's a second and a half to the guy in front, and you can use it, and I think you get like 10 or 20 pushes, something like that, 10, 15 pushes. So you have to conserve them a little bit too. But yeah, it definitely improves the racing at that point because you can't use it to defend like you can in IndyCar. It's just 2 different ways of using it, I guess.
Yeah. You know, so let's kind of talk about this year. Obviously, we talked about Circuit of the Americas, leads us to, you know, the Indy 500. I was actually, you know, fortunate enough, got to catch up with you there, I think, around the GP. But, you know, you've been to Indy before. You know, you obviously, your dad competed there. I mean, your dad's been an owner there. Like, you've been around, you know, the Indy 500. How was this, like, your first experience actually racing the Indy 500, man? I mean, you know, that's got to be, you know, for any driver in America, I mean, even globally, I mean, that's the dream right there. I mean, how was that first experience at the Indy 500 for you and taking it all in? Because I mean, it's a pressure cooker of a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Indy 500 sucked, but it was fun to be in the show. It was fun to have everything until the race started was amazing. You know, the pre-event, all the test days leading up to it, the qualifying weekend, making the Fast 9, and then unfortunately we had the small fuel leak that caused a fire and burnt up a whole bunch of the looms and stuff that kind of prematurely ended our day on whatever lap it was, 5 or 6. So that part sucked, but just to be able to be in the show was awesome, and have a fast car like I did. We were running 5th or so, I think, and that's where we qualified, and we were running there. And as far as I was concerned, the car felt good. It felt really good relative to the other guys because actually right from the start I didn't have 6th gear, so we got up to 5th gear, and I was bouncing off the limiter going down the straights and stuff, and we were still able to keep up. So I think relative to that, our car was like really fast. So yeah, you got to take it on the chin. It's an unfortunate one, especially because that's the one you don't want anything to go wrong. All the other ones, if you have a bad day, it's all leading up to Indy, and as long as Indy goes well, that's what matters. But yeah, unfortunately, Indy didn't go well, but you know, we took it on the chin. We got a lot to look forward to. Hopefully we have many more years to come to try and win that thing.
Yeah, well, I definitely think you will. And, you know, now you guys, obviously, you just wrapped up Road America. You got the pole there. We'll talk about that in a second. But how is it to finally, now you've got, 3 weeks? Like, you got to think that's an eternity because you guys are coming off this bender of GP, Indy 500, Detroit Double, Texas, Road America. I mean, you guys have just, it's got to be draining. I mean, you've got 3 weeks now. It's like, well, you probably don't even know what to do with yourself, right?
Well, I'm actually in Watkins Glen right now for the IMSA weekend. I am doing some stuff for BMW. I'm not driving, I'm reserving, but kind of keeps me busy. And then, yeah, I got some stuff after that, but I'll be home hopefully for the 4th of July and get to spend some time with my family after. It is a bit of a grind from kind of right from the beginning of May till, you know, now when we get a little bit of a break for the summertime.
Yeah. Well, you know, going back, and obviously you guys took the pole. You took the win earlier at Circuit of the Americas, just took the pole at Road America this past weekend. You know, that had to have been exciting. I mean, you guys have all these milestones as this team. I mean, you know, going into this year, you guys knew it was one of those things. You're a new team. You know, this is going to be a building year. I mean, you know, you guys overall have to be really happy with where you're sitting with the speed that you guys have shown and you know, and obviously the successes you've had. I mean, you know, are you guys exceeding expectations so far in 2019?
I think so. Besides our some of our race results that are poor from whatever issues might have happened, but the speed's there. That's the most important thing. Everything else we can kind of refine and will come with experience. But it's a lot easier to make a fast driver slow down than a slow driver speed up. So I think that's kind of what we're doing right now, is trying to refine everything and make sure that the race pace is solid everywhere and we're not making any mistakes.
Yeah, well, and I got to think you as a driver, and obviously the team probably too. I mean, they're collecting data at every event, but you as a driver, I mean, you're taking all these mental notes heading into next year, like, hey, we can change this, we can do this, and you as a driver, obviously you're probably really excited about 2020 just because you're going to take all this experience from this year and roll it into next year, and and you're going to be that much further along,
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing that the other guys have on me is they have years and years and years of experience and have been through a lot of situations that might play out in a race. So that's where kind of the racing experience comes from, and the only way you can get better from that is repetition.
Yeah, well, and that being said, the other drivers got experience. Obviously, you guys, Harding Steinbrenner, kind of tied in with Andretti Technologies. Your dad, is an owner on Marco's car. I mean, is there some guys around the paddock that you can kind of rely on for some advice?
Yeah, obviously having Al Jr. with the team, Brian Barnhart. There's a lot of guys that are experienced that work for the team that have been around IndyCar for a long time. My engineer, Nathan O'Rourke, has been with a ton of teams and has been with Andretti before, Vision, Carpenter, a lot of different teams, and has had success with all of them. So I've got a lot of guys in my corner. Like you said, also Michael Andretti, Marco Andretti, all the Andretti drivers, and including my dad, are always there for advice when I need it.
Yeah. Well, it was great catching up, Colton, man. I'll let you get to the fun there at Watkins Glen, man. Thank you for coming on the show, and good luck the rest of the year. I'm sure we'll talk off and on throughout the year, my friend. But thanks for taking the time, buddy.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Colton. And we'll be back after this on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Anywhere is possible. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire's wide variety of tires for whatever it is that you drive. Whether you're looking for off-road capability balanced with impressive on-road performance or ultra-high performance offering all-season traction designed with a driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has what you need to get where you're going. General Tire, providing anywhere is possible with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. Hey, this is Jim Beaver, host of the Down and Dirty Radio Show. Getting down and dirty on the racetrack is all fun and games until it's time to get the dirt off. I know it all too well, which is why I've partnered with MotoShield Pro, the leaders in nanotechnology solutions on the racetrack and in off-road to combat mud and dirt buildup on my vehicles. MotoShield Pro keeps us from taking unnecessary damage and spending extra energy on cleaning. No matter the weather or the surface, having proper protection on all my vehicles saves me plenty of reprep time in a sport where every second counts. Prep your vehicle like a pro. Learn more at MotoShieldPro.com.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
And we are back here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Man, I don't know if you can pack much more into hour number one. A couple of segments of power rankings, and then rolling into Colton Herta. And this is one of those kids. Like this kid, like I said, like we did in the interview, I've met him, I think, when he's first 13. And this kid is like next level good. You want to talk about a prodigy? You want to talk about one of the kids is the future of motorsport. To be able to accomplish what he's done at this age, I mean, look at that. In the history of IndyCar, he is the youngest ever winner and the youngest ever pole sitter. I mean, that's saying something. You look at the talent that has come through IndyCar. I mean, decade after decade after decade of talent through IndyCar, and he is the youngest to ever pole sit, and he's the youngest to ever win. Man, you want to talk about a statement? Some of the all-time greats, he's already clipped, their feats, which are astonishing in themselves. Like, to me, that's crazy. You want to be a fan. You want to hit yourself on the on the horse that, that's going to take us into the next decades in the future of IndyCar, Colton Herta. This kid right now, real deal. And not only that, but, Harding Steinbrenner Racing, I mean, we haven't even talked about George Steinbrenner, who is 22, the youngest owner in IndyCar history, and he's already got a team that is winning and taking poles. Like, this is crazy. Youngest driver, youngest owner in history. This team, if you're the rest of the IndyCar paddock, like, for real, you guys are taking notice. Everybody's nervous. Like, if they're doing this in year one, what's things going to look like in year 2, 3, 4, 5 of this team? Like, to me, it's just mind-boggling how good they are, both as a team and Colton as a driver this early on. Crazy. I am excited. IndyCar is firing on all cylinders. Like, this form of motorsport, man, they are just absolutely blowing it out of the stratosphere right now. So, yeah, this is hour number 1. We're going to roll right into hour number 2 here. Coming up, hour number 2, we got my good friend Steve Torrence, also Tiffany Stone on the line right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our Razor vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of Razor vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a Razor 170 like me, take the entire family out in a Razor XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new Razor XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris Razor. Check out the full Polaris Razor lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris Razor. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
All right, hour number 2 right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Thank you guys for joining us once again. 2 hours. Some days like this week, we could have fit 3 hours into the show. I got interviews we're not even airing. Meanwhile, check out my other show, the Off-Road Edition. It actually dropped before the national show this week, so it's already up there on iTunes and on the website, downanddirtyshow.com. It's got my good friend Matt Martelli. We're talking about the state of off-road, the Mint 400, which does air this weekend, World of X Games this Saturday. So, if you're an off-road fan, definitely be locked and loaded Saturday afternoon, World of X Games, the Mint 400. Hey, you might actually see me wheeling my Polaris Razor there. So, that coming up, that's some big TV this weekend, which rolls us into 4th of July and all the fun and excitement. Don't forget, we are taking next week off here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor, and the Foil Parts Down and Dirty Show Off-Road Edition, because I am taking a very rare vacation for a week. That's right. I am going off the grid for a week. We will have a project action dropping this week. My guest is my good friend Jacqueline Carrizosa, aka Brojack, as you guys know her. Influencer, just an amazing rad person. I've had her on multiple times on all my shows. Always fun catching up with her. You guys are definitely going to enjoy that one. And and then next week we are going to have Steve Torrence once again on Project Action. So looking forward to that. But hour number 2, we have my good friend Steve Torrence right here on the show. We're also going to have my good friend Tiffany Stone, who is out at ARA Rally. I know big news coming out of the ARA Rally there in Idaho. For the first time in a long time, there was no Subaru on the national podium. That's right, David Higgins having some problems. And I got to give a big shout-out to Jeff Seahorn, who ended up taking the victory overall at Idaho. I mean, it's so rare that a factory Subaru, I want to call them Subaru Rally Team USA, but it has changed. It's Subaru Motorsports, but a factory Subaru team isn't on the podium. Like, it's just crazy. That is so rare. That's the equivalent of hell freezing over. Just saying. Jeff Seahorn taking that big victory. I know he's got to be absolutely stoked, beyond stoked on that. I mean, great effort by him. These guys, they put in the work the past couple of years. I give him a lot of credit. You know, he kind of came onto the scene quite a few years ago, and he was really quick out of the gate. Finally put it all together, took an overall victory. Big shout out to Jeff Seahorn and that team for taking that victory. So, Tiffany Stone and Steve Torrence. Steve Torrence will be up right now when we come after this break here on hour number 2 on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. So you don't want to go anywhere. We got a whole lot more to come yet today. You want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on 4 wheels? The Polaris Razor brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris Razor because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team Razor because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris Razor because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRazor.com or follow at Polaris Razor on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire. General Tire's Grabber X3 mud terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3 from General Tire. Make your anywhere possible by visiting GeneralTire.com today. General Tire, aggressive styling with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
Looking to have some fun on 4 wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount. Super ATV is the industry leader in aftermarket UTV and ATV parts and accessories. Super ATV products are designed, engineered, tested, and manufactured right here by Super ATV. Whether you're looking to upgrade your suspension, get stronger axles, or you're looking for a new winch to get you out of a tough spot, Super ATV has what you're looking for. And since we know you're in a hurry, we offer fast, free shipping to the lower 48 states on all orders. Visit superatv.com now and get your UTV or ATV dialed in.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'd like to roll into Dirtfish Rally Report this week. We're going to be talking some ARA Rally up there in Idaho with my partner in crime, Tiffany Stone. T-Stone, welcome to the show.
Hello. Good. What is this? Good morning? No, it's good afternoon now.
Yeah, it
I'm
all
on
depends.
the East Coast, so it's good afternoon.
Yeah, you're East Coast. Well, it's funny, too, because Detroit I've never thought as East Coast. I've always kind of seen that as like a middle America type of thing, but you guys are Eastern time zone, so it's like always thrown me off. I always felt like Michigan should be Central Time for some reason. I don't know. I'm kind of weird that way, but I've always thought it should be.
Well, if you're in Escanaba in the UP, remember, whenever we're at Bark River, everybody's like, okay, set your watches, set your clocks, everything to Eastern time, because it would go back and forth, because Escanaba's right there on the time zone where it changes. So one time it'll be like 2 p.m., but then if you walk 100 feet, it's 3 p.m. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's probably because, though, you got Detroit, Chicago, you've got some massive cities right there. And, and I think probably for business practices, them being aligned with New York City and Boston and that, it probably for big business, it probably makes more sense to be on Eastern, I would assume, right? I don't know. It's way above my pay grade.
It is, but the crazy thing is Chicago is an hour behind us.
Are they? I would have thought they were on Eastern too. I don't know. See, I'm so screwed up.
No, but it's just because you looking at a map, you're just like, okay, well, this makes sense, but no, it's that, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, didn't know that.
Somebody was drunk when they designed the time zones, straight up. I think they just drew some squiggly lines on paper and just yep, this works.
Yeah, no, Chicago's an hour behind. Well, and the one thing that screws me up a little bit, and you can, talk about this because of Arizona, is you don't spring forward.
No, so we don't change time at all.
Exactly. It's so weird.
Yeah. So, sometimes we'll only be 2 hours apart. Sometimes we're 3 hours apart. I don't know. I like it, but it works for us. And I know they've actually talked about making it a nationwide thing, which I think, could actually happen at some point. But it only makes sense if the entire country were to do that and not bounce around. But I don't know. That's I don't know. That's a story for another day. I do have something before we roll into talking some ARA Rally with you, though. I posted on your Instagram. I said, we are absolutely going to talk about this. I said, I got to put you on the spot because I thought it was the funniest damn picture ever. The hell, are you trying out for Greece or something?
No. So that was a shot that I did for a lookbook. So in the modeling world or the fashion world, there's these things called lookbooks. They come out at the beginning of the summer or the spring or the fall or the winter, and it showcases the type of vibe or the style or the fashion that's for that season. And so this was for a Pelly lookbook, and so that's a Pelly Letterman jacket and stuff. And then that whole vibe with the tall socks and the roller skates just reminded me of Greece. So the whole, Sandy from Greece, tell me about it, stud. And then I thought about it. I was like, I think I really just aged myself. However, I think they just came out with a new Greece, so then maybe I didn't, but that's from, the Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta days.
Yeah, no, I was laughing. I saw it. I'm like, but now you're saying lookbook. I'm like, is there really somebody that would get a Letterman's jacket and that pink outfit? Is that really a look people went for during summer that year? I don't know, man. Maybe, obviously, we're not stylish in Arizona, but I'm looking at that going, if that was a lookbook, I don't know anybody that actually bought into that look.
No, the jacket, but so the whole vibe of that series, we were at a 50 stock hop drive-in type thing with old classic cars. So I actually do have the lookbook. Maybe I'll post it on Instagram later on or whatnot. But so what it is it's just showcasing Letterman jackets, the clothing. It was just mostly jacket stuff. And so I have some other stuff. So maybe I'll post it on Instagram so people can know what we're talking about. But that was just the vibe of me being a sock hop, girl that works there.
Yeah. Well, which I find funny too, because I've always appreciated this about you. I know, like, as models, you guys do some funny shoots sometimes, and, like, afterwards you're probably like, man, I can't believe I actually did that. You know what I mean? Like, just some of the stuff you have to wear and things like that. But one thing I've always appreciated about you is, like, you can poke fun at yourself. You're like, yeah, I did something that was a little goofy there. Maybe we wouldn't probably do that again a decade later, but, yeah, it was funny then. It worked, whatever. You know, but you've always been able to, like, you know, you can find humor in yourself, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. It's just, you know, people are going to say things about you and people are going to talk about you, but this is what I've learned, and maybe it's just the Detroit mentality or 8 Mile with Eminem coming up. It's just make fun of yourself first. If you make fun of yourself and take away all the things that they have to make fun of you, you know, Eminem's like, yeah, I'm white. My mom's a druggie. I live in a trailer park. Like, okay, tell me something I don't know about myself. Like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I did this. Now tell me something I don't know. You know, I snort when I laugh a little bit. You know,
That's when I know you really think it's funny. When you get the snort out of T-Stone, like, all right, you hit a good joke there. Like, you have a tell. You have a legit tell. Like, you can chuckle, and it's like, it's not that funny. If you get a snort out of Tiff, boom, it is like, yeah, that was a good joke.
That was. And then, you know, everything with my grandma, you know, I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with her in her last few days and everything. And when my family was around, I guess I get to snort from my grandmother. So I'm really lucky and happy about that. My sister does it as well. So when you get my sister and I together, it's just really funny. And that's just the way it is. But you're right. You got to make fun of yourself, because if you can't, you know, like, then everybody has everything to make fun of you and hurt you.
Yeah. So that being said, I know you were up at, obviously we're supposed to do this Dirtfish Rally Report, ARA, Idaho. This is actually one of the few rallies in this country I haven't been to yet. This came onto the national calendar. It used to be a regional, came onto the national calendar after I left the sport of rally. Not left it, but just not working in it full time anymore. So I haven't actually been to this one. I know this one was an interesting one. You can talk about the rally itself, Tiff, because I can't compare it to anything because I haven't been there. But David Higgins, no Subarus on the podium. I mean, this is like the equivalent of hell freezing over.
Yeah, pretty much. Usually it's you know, Subaru's 1, 2, and then whomever it is can get in there with 3. Or, you know, when we were in Portland, it was Travis Pastrana was out there battling Higgins and stuff. And so this year, yeah, it was crazy. So Idaho's a little bit different. Obviously, we fly into Boise, and then we had about 40 minutes east down 21, and we go to like Idaho City, and we go to Placerville, which is, these areas are just crazy. You know, I've never been to Alaska, but a lot of the people that were around was like, this is kind of like Alaska. So there's a lot of like chicanes, long, twisty, very technical type of roads. And a lot of these roads, because, you know, with a stage rally, you'll have maybe 6 stages one day, 6 stages the next day. You'll either do the same stage or reverse them. So there's a lot of wrecky that happens. But on one of them, like Spanish Fork, very windy, very turny. The crazy thing about the terrain really is how silty it is. So I know, obviously, you know about Baja, and you know how crazy the silt is down there. That's exactly what was happening in Idaho. It was getting very slick, silty, super, super dusty. And I was making the joke, I'm like, I don't know what's worse, mud cake dirt from Crandon or just silty dirt dust from Idaho, because it's stuck in the air. And usually they let maybe like the first 3 to 5 cars go with a 2-minute window in between to let the dust settle. Well, since the dust was so big and so massive, they put actually 3 minutes and then 2 minutes in between. And that just shows you like how dusty it got. And I'm looking in some of them, and obviously, you know, Jim, like sitting in the woods, there's nothing going on except the sounds of the birds, the wind, and then you can hear all the, you know, cars come by, and you're just hearing these cars in the distance, and you just see dust come up in between the pine trees and all that. And it was just really, really cool, and I liked it. It was very much so a driver's type of stage rally, a driver, co-driver, because there's a lot of, you know, 3s and 4s in there, and then a lot of 2s and 3s. So it was cool.
Yeah, and I've always heard it's more of a technical rally. You know, it's not the wide open, crazy high speeds. It's a lot of back and forth. I think that was one of the things I know. You know, we had a UTV third on the podium. You know, Carl Markham. Like, talk about a crazy effort. But you know, on a flat out race like some of the stages at Oregon, where it's wide open, 100 mile an hour, you know, UTVs can't hang. But when it's nice, tight, twisty, technical stuff, like you know, I know Steph Verdier had a good run as well. But man, UTVs were solid up there at Idaho. And we could talk here all day long with T-Stone, but we got to take a short commercial break and cut this thing short because when we come back, we have ESPN ESPY nominee and my good friend Steve Torrence right here on the line live. You don't want to miss it. Steve-O never disappoints right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Hey, this is Jim Beaver, host of the Down and Dirty Radio Show. Getting down and dirty on the racetrack is all fun and games until it's time to get the dirt off. I know it all too well, which is why I partnered with MotoShield Pro, the leaders in nanotechnology solutions on the racetrack and in off-road to combat mud and dirt buildup on my vehicles. MotoShield Pro keeps us from taking unnecessary damage and spending extra energy on cleaning. No matter the weather or the surface, having proper protection on all my vehicles saves me plenty of reprep time in a sport where every second counts. Prep your vehicle like a pro. Learn more at MotoShieldPro.com.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online in syndication on networks across the U.S. and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'd like to welcome, one of my really good friends, my brother that I didn't even know until, last spring, but Steve Torrence, man, welcome to the show. Always fun, Steve-O.
Hey, Beav, glad to be back on, man. I appreciate it. How's things going?
Everything is good. You can appreciate this. You're a gun person, right? You and I are, you and I both like hunting and shooting and stuff like this. Well, I got a gun straight out of Texas here about 2 weeks ago, and I'm absolutely in love, man. But I bought myself full-on Clint Eastwood 44 Magnum, and I got to tell you what, Steve, I am absolutely in love with that cannon right now.
Dude, that thing's awesome. That's the throwback round, and a lot of power, a lot of lead that flies out of that thing. They're fun to shoot. I got one myself, and I don't think you're not a Clint Eastwood fan if you don't have a Dirty Harry.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Yeah, I got that, and my dad and I, we immediately go out to the range, and we go and I call it the range. It's out in the desert. Don't fool yourself. We don't go out to the range, but we got a spot in the desert. We go out there and we set up this. I can't even remember what it was. This big old can out there, and it was weighted down. And I fired off that first round. I'd never shot a 44 Magnum before. That can went straight up in the air about 5-6 feet in the air and tumbled it down. I just both looked at each other and went, "Wow!" Now this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, that thing's tons of power behind that one, man. That one's cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't even know. I got a lot to catch up with you on. I think we'll probably, we're going to do a little bit different interview today because we can always talk about things. But I know ESPN ESPY Awards, man. I know before we got on air, we're talking. You go, before all this happened, I didn't even know what an ESPN ESPY was. But now, man, you were in there, and I got to say, I'm looking at this cast of characters, and, you've got names like Bush, and, Scott Dixon, who people consider him one of the greats of IndyCar. You got Lewis Hamilton, who is arguably him and Michael Schumacher and a few others, some of the best Formula One drivers of all time. I mean, man, you are in some elite company, Steve-O.
It's pretty surreal to be able to just be mentioned or nominated for the thing. Like I told you earlier, I didn't even know what an ESPY award was, but when your name is considered in that list of drivers right there, I mean, that's the best of the best, and it's humbling, honestly, just to kind of think somebody thinks that I'm good enough to be nominated to be a good driver. So truly just a blessing. I mean, the last few seasons that we've had, I get all the glory. I get to do all the talking, but it ultimately goes down to just my team and my crew. I mean, those guys give me the best race car on race day, and they're the reason for the success. But it is truly an honor to be able to represent NHRA and be nominated for an ESPY award. That's really special, and I'm one of the four that's from every motorsport represented. I think it's pretty dadgum cool, if you ask me.
Well, one thing I thought, was really cool about this too is I feel like, everybody knows your story, and we've talked about your story and things like that. And we'll, kind of talk about your last 3 years, but like you got nominated for this thing, Steve, and it was like, a lot of series, that, their driver gets nominated, and it's like, it's just another thing. Oh yeah, they get nominated every year. We'll put out a post, but like, I feel like with this, not only Torrence Racing, but I've talked on the phone with Natalie quite a few times in the last week and a half, but NHRA, I mean, this was an all hands on deck. Like, everybody's like, Steve-O, we are going to go to bat for this guy. Like, that's got to make you feel pretty humble, pretty special, because, it's not like, you got nominated and it's a phone in. I mean, NHRA and everybody else, they're producing videos. They're going to bat for you on social media. Like, I mean, I know we were talking beforehand, you've got this whole, like, PR campaign. You're doing all these radio shows and things like that. Like, it's got to make you feel pretty special that people, I mean, they're going to war for you over this deal.
Honestly, it truly does, and it's at the end of the day, it's not so much about me, Steve Torrence, as it is about NHRA and trying to get some recognition to the sport that I think kind of gets left to the side sometimes. And so we're calling all arms and getting everybody involved and really campaigning hard just to say, even if you're not a Steve Torrence fan, even if you're not, you root for someone else, it's not so much about me. It's just getting NHRA out there and trying to put our little spot on the map a little bit bigger and get some more recognition. So it's a great opportunity to push drag racing to the front and just get some more people involved with our sport and more fans and try to promote ourselves and our sport a lot better. So I think that even at the end of the day, if you're not a Steve Torrence fan, but you are a drag racing fan, it would mean a lot to me, and I think the sport in general, if we could represent NHRA and possibly go out and win an ESPY.
Yeah, well, and, I think that's one thing I applaud ESPN for, too, is something like this where, you and I both know, you talk auto racing, NHRA, it's one of the major series, but, you look at the big scheme of things. I mean, this is one of the few times a year where, guys from NHRA, guys from NASCAR, I mean, they've got professional bowlers and stuff, but you guys are on the same stage and on the same platform as the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. And, like, to me, I applaud ESPN for that, because it's like they've created this thing where, you're going to be sitting in a room with some of the, LeBron James and some of the greatest, Tom Brady and some of the greatest, athletes we know now. And, and like, to me, that's really cool that ESPN's created something where, it equalizes everybody and everybody's on the same playing field.
Dude, I'm going to be honest with you. It's crazy to me that that just what you said. I'm going to be in the same room as the big star athletes and, the Tom Brady's of the world. And I don't even know how I got there, to be honest with you. It's just, like I said, a lot of support and a lot of people that push me to the front. And I just get to be the guy that gets to talk and take some of the glory for the Torrence Racing Capco team. But it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking to go to LA and be in the ESPY Awards show and just live the experience. My life, I have lived a wonderful life, but the last few years have been so eventful and just such wonderful and great opportunities that I've been able to have and experience and be part of. Sometimes you just don't want to even pinch yourself in case you might wake up, because it's just been a dream so far. And I don't know what I've done or what we're doing any differently, so we're just going to try to keep doing the same thing. But it's pretty dadgum cool to be able to say, hey, I'm going to the ESPY Awards, and I got nominated for one. And 3 weeks ago, I didn't even know what an ESPY award was. So it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Well, and all that being said, I mean, we look back at your career, and I mean, Steve, you've taken wins before. And I mean, I go back to, the past couple of years, and, something happened there in 2017, because in 2016, I think you had a handful of victories, and, and people knew, they knew Steve was always, potential to, go in there and win a race. But 2017, there was something happen. I think you took 8 victories there, and you had a hell of a run at the championship until until you guys had some problems, had to swap cars, and, stuff kind of hit the fan there. And we all know that story. But then rolling into last year, I mean, you guys were just on another level. And then this year, first couple of rounds, you kind of stumbled out of the gate, but it's been gas on, game on. I mean, you're like 6 for the last 7 rounds, I think you've won, or events. I mean, what happened in 17? I mean, because this team, it was a team that could win, but in 17, you guys became just dominant. It was like the switch got flipped.
Honestly, it feels the same way to me as it appears on the outside. Like you just said, the switch got flipped and everything just came together. I mean, my mindset as a driver really just clicked, and not that I didn't have little glimmers of just what I was supposed to be doing, but it just changed my mindset. I really went out with a different attitude and a different drive, and drove the car better. The guys, everything has just really come together. And I don't know one pinpoint thing that I can say, oh, we did this or we did that. But, I mean, these guys are just working at the top of their game. And I think that being able to have that success and to go and do what we've been able to do in 17, in 18, is ultimate preparation for what we're doing even this year, and when you live in that much intensity and that much where you have to have that much focus, it's truly like trial by fire, and you just get used to living in the fire. So anything else is a little slower paced and a little more relaxed, and it's just human nature to become accustomed to certain levels of stress and certain levels of just pressure, and my whole team, I think we're just working at a different level right now. Not saying that we're better than the rest of the guys out there. It's just we've been in this mindset for so long that we don't know how to get out of it. I mean, you just go out there and you race as hard as you possibly can, and you work as hard as you possibly can, and spend as much time doing what it takes to get it done, and just working at a different level to push that. You work so hard, and finally when you do kind of take a breath of air and look up and look around, I mean, we've been able to accomplish 8 wins in 17, 11 wins in 18, and 6 wins so far this year in 19. I mean, there's people that are asking me questions about, well, you're in the top 10 win list of all time, and you're in position to break this record and do this, and I'm like, man, this is crazy to me that if you would have asked me in 2012 when we started this deal full time that I would be able to accomplish what we've done, I would have said, man, if I can win one race, we'll be happy. And we're looking at 33, 34 races down the road that we've won, and it's been a I won't say it's been a roller coaster ride, because we haven't had a whole lot of downs. We've had a whole lot of ups. But all I can tell you is, brother, the good Lord just continues to look after some blessings, because without believing in something like that, I mean, you can't explain any of this.
And we'll be back with more with Steve Torrence after this on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
Looking to have some fun on 4 wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online in syndication on networks across the U.S. and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
And we're back here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Got my good friend and Top Fuel champ and ESPN ESPY nominee, Steve Torrence, on the line. So, Steve, do you think, and, I know a lot of guys and girls in NHRA, this is their day job. We got, you and I got, good friends there, AB and, Leah, and just you can go down the list, and that's what they do. They are a top fuel driver. Steve Torrence, that's not what you do, man. You work. You got a day job. Do you think that do you think that day job actually helps? I mean, because you can kind of, I think as race car drivers, we can overthink things. And I think you get to take yourself out of that all week long. Not all week long, but during the season, obviously you're on the road more often than not. But there's a few days there in the week where you can go and you can just jump in some equipment and and just kind of take your mind away. Do you think that's actually helped this, where you're not overthinking things and you can kind of separate yourself from NHRA for a couple days every week?
100%. I think it benefits me. I think that it gets me to a different place and focused on something different and allow me to unravel my mind off of racing and what's going on there. And then when you're able to do that, you work Monday through Thursday and you go Friday morning to the racetrack and you're there for one thing and one thing only, and that's to race and to try to win and go home. And I don't have time to think about what else is happening, what this team's doing, what that team's doing, what the points look like. I mean, that's the last thing that's on my mind Monday through Thursday is what somebody else is doing. I mean, I talk to the guys at the race shop and make sure that they have everything they need and try to accommodate any questions or things that I can do to help them. But other than that thing runs, they run it the way that it should be and handle it. And so we just show up at the racetrack and drive and run the business aspect of Torrance Racing and Capco. But, as far as the what's going on in the daily world of drag racing and the rumor mill and all those things that are distractions, it doesn't affect me. So I think that plays into my favor.
Yeah, well, and we got to you said we go to the racetrack, and I want to mention something because I know your dad, Billy, he's going to the racetrack a bit this year, and he's having some success. I mean, obviously we've seen you kind of the last couple of years kind of take over, but I got to tell you, the rest of the Top Fuel, community, I think they're pretty happy your dad's only on a part-time basis, because I think if they had two Torrance cars full-time or Capco cars, I don't know that they would actually like that, Steve. But I mean, what do you take of your dad and the success he's had? And I mean, man, when you go up against him in a final round like you did earlier this year, man, that's got to be something really special for you guys.
Brother, I'm with all them other drivers. I'm glad he ain't running a full schedule either. That sucker's bad. I'll tell you what, it's pretty cool to say that my situation is 180 from everybody else typically, or most of the drivers that have raced as a family, like Bernstein or some of these other guys, that you teach your kid how to drive the race car, and then you kind of school him and you go through it. Well, my dad did that up until alcohol and then Top Fuel, so he went from sportsman cars to driving a fuel car, and I've tried to teach him everything I know and help him through the course of his career, and it's been really cool to watch. I mean, anything he does everything like I do and sometimes better, and you're like, well, how'd you do this? Oh, hell, that's what you told me to do. And I'm like, well, I forgot I even knew how to do that. But he's done an exceptional job. And then when you think that he'll race this weekend and skip a couple races and then race another weekend and then maybe go 3 or 4 races and come back and get in the car, and how well he drives, not only just driving the car down the track and being on top of things, but getting in there and being good on the tree. I mean, he does a great job, and it takes, you think these things are probably pretty easy to drive. You stand on the gas, drive them in a straight line and let off and hit the parachutes. Well, I'd welcome anybody that wanted to try it, and more than half of them would not even want to be in it after it cranked up, and to get in it and have the mental aptitude and just confidence to go up there, concentrate on what the job is at hand, hit the gas, and be going 100 miles an hour in less than a second, and still have a good reaction time, and drive the thing down through there and be able to feel it, spin the tire, and pedal it, and do all the things that he's been able to do. I'm really, really proud of my dad.
Yeah, well, you talk about, having the aptitude to do it. I got to tell you, I watch what happens inside, inside your cockpit there, and there's a lot happening in 3 or 4 seconds. I mean, there's a lot happening. You guys are left, right, moving this, that. And I don't think people, I think people on TV, they just watch and see, like you said, a straight line. But I don't think they get what it actually takes for a guy like you to keep that car going straight at 300-plus miles an hour for 3 or 4 seconds.
You're absolutely right there. And even for me doing it as long as I have, I kind of downplay it. And here the other day, I was showing my dad he was asking what I did, and I'm like, I don't really know. So I went back and found some in-car footage that we had from testing, and there is a lot going on. I mean, you're pulling the high side, you're stepping off the clutch, you're pumping the brake, you hit the gas, you drive down through there, and you're riding on the seat of your pants to feel anything that, in case it happens, to get off the throttle or whatever you want to do. And then you're hitting the parachutes a couple hundred feet before the finish line to make sure that they come out on time, because it takes about 300 feet for these things to open. After you deploy them, you're moving so fast. So it's just, there's a lot happening in less than 4 seconds to get that car from point A to point B in a straight line. So yeah, when you do it all the time, you think, oh heck, I just hit the gas, go to the end, and slow her down. Well, then you go back and look at that in-car footage, and you're like, man, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, I know one of my favorite things every single week, and I say that every week because it seems like it's become an every week thing, but always on Twitter, there's always a post. You guys are taking the plane back to Kilgore, and it's always bringing another Wally to Kilgore, and it's you and Nat and, Mama Kay and Billy, and you're always in the plane going, and everybody's smiling. It's become one of my favorite pictures every single week because, you guys are some of my favorite people, and it always puts a smile on my face. But I got to ask, what does everybody in Kilgore, Texas think of what's going on here, Steve, with these ESPYs and everything else? I mean, because I know how it is to be in a small town, and everybody treats you just the way they've always treated you. But I also know, they got to be pretty damn stoked on what's going on.
Yeah, the support from the whole entire community, Kilgore, Henderson, Tyler, Longview, all just the whole East Texas area, it has been a big support. And, it's people that have never met me, but they're rooting for the hometown guy. And then you got fans that I don't even know that I see in restaurants and stuff that come up and say, man, are you Steve Torrence? We watch you every weekend. So it's been pretty cool. And this afternoon, I'm going to get a haircut at the barbershop. So I'm sure that I'll catch up on all the info and everybody, because there's, some people that I hadn't seen since the nomination. So that'll be pretty neat. But it's, living in small town Texas and Kilgore, and just having the support is it's humbling, because I've grown up in this community, and to see the support that people put in behind you, not only when things are bad, but when things are good, that they're cheering for you and right there with you, and wanting to see an East Texas boy, do well. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, one more question before we let you go, and this is just me shooting from the hip here, but I know you got two hobbies, obviously, NHRA, Top Fuel, and hunting. So I know you've got some trophies before, when you're hunting, and I also know you've got quite a few trophies in NHRA. So, trophy elk or trophy buck, Steve, or NHRA championship? I mean, what I don't want to say pick one or the other, but, what's the feeling? You get kind of the same feeling when either way?
Brother, I can only say that with the one Top Fuel championship, there's no amount of trophy animals that compares to what it takes. I mean, at the end of the day, a trophy is not so much the animal you harvested or the trophy you got, but the experience and what it took to get there. And a lot of people bend the whole hunting thing wrong and say, oh, why'd you go hunt? Why'd you kill this animal? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to eat that animal. And secondly, it was an experience of going out and being in the wild and, doing that. But I'm looking in the corner of my office right now at this World Championship trophy, and there's 10 other guys that I share that experience with, and every one of us have a different memory, and some of us have the same exact memories, but it's all a story and a book and a chapter of our lives that led to that moment, and that resembles it. So I'm going to tell you, by far, it was a year-long experience. It was 24 races. It was 11 final rounds. It was the last round at Pomona against Tony Schumacher, the Sarge, the most dominant top fuel driver ever, and beating him on a hole shot and winning 6 for 6. I mean, there's just all of those memories are represented in that trophy. So I'm going to have to tell you, by far, a Top Fuel World Championship is the greatest.
All right. So heading to ESPN ESPYs in a couple of weeks. I know we want everybody to go over to ESPN side. You got it up on your social media. I've got it up on mine. NHRA does things. NHRA.com/vote Steve. Steve, heading to the ESPYs. You got a new cowboy hat, or are you pulling out Old Faithful?
Man, I tell you what, we may not rock the cowboy hat to the ESPYs. It's I don't know what to expect, and I don't want to have to carry that thing around with me, so we're probably just going to go everything like we did for the banquet, minus the cowboy hat.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Always fun, my friend. I appreciate it, and we are definitely voting every day for you, buddy. Hope to see you on top there at the ESPYs in L.A.
Thank you very much, sir. I sure do appreciate it, and it was good being on.
And Steve Torrence never disappoints. Big thanks to him for taking the time to come on the show, and I call him my brother and things like that, and honestly, true story, you go back a year and a half, I didn't know Steve at all. I knew of Steve, but I didn't know Steve at all. Never interviewed him before anything until Razor Star Car. And we had Antron Brown and Steve Torrence come in, and man, Steve immediately, we had him out here in the desert in Parker for testing, and immediately it was one of those things where I went, wow, this guy, he and I just clicked. He's a good boy, Texan boy, blue collar, grinded out, earned everything he's got. And, Steve and I got to know each other, and, I ended up, obviously had him in Star Car, got to talk with him, and, quite a bit, get to know him, went out to the NHRA 4-wides there in Vegas. Jolene Van Butte and I went out there, spent some time with him and the whole family. Got to know Billy, Mama Kay, the whole team. Obviously, Natalie Janke there that is with Torrence Racing, has become a very good friend of mine. And, Gary Pritchett works for Steve Torrence. Leah Pritchett's husband, works for Steve Torrence. I've got to know him. And, just the entire Torrence Racing team, just an absolute great group of people. I mean, definitely part of my NHRA family, and they've welcomed me with open arms. And honestly, we started doing a lot of NHRA content coverage on the show. A lot of it, honestly, is because of Antron and Steve, and just how the NHRA community has opened their arms to me. And, obviously, you saw my pictures on Instagram and that. Don Schumacher Racing had some time to, had the opportunity to spend some time at their shop in Indy when I was there for the GP. But honestly, it's just been a breath of fresh air to deal with just an organization like Torrence Racing. Steve, get to know him, and just so much fun. I think the world of him, and seriously, if you guys haven't already, NHRA.com/vote Steve. Get your vote in. You can do it once a day. They're on the site because he's up for an ESPN ESPY nomination, and man, he deserves it if anybody does. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back after this on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle in Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound of the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
All right, we're here to wrap things up on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. For today, big shout out to all of my guests. Big thanks to Tiffany Stone, Chris Leone for all their help and support that they do every single week. Big thanks to my boy Steve Torrence for calling into the show, as well as Colton Herta. Thanks to everybody there at Herta, it's Herta Steinbrenner Racing. Sorry, Harding Steinbrenner Racing. Herta, that's a different team in the paddock, right? But thanks to everybody that's helped that out. Make sure you can go over to NHRA.com/vote Steve and vote for my boy Steve Torrence. Get those votes in. You can vote every single day, and I'm going to be tuned in to watch ESPN ESPYs on television to see, hopefully see Steve get crowned. But make sure and go over to iTunes, subscribe to this show, rate, review, and subscribe. Check out Project Action as well, and make sure and check out the 4 Wheel Parts Down and Dirty Show Off-Road Edition each and every week. We've got Project Action. I got all kinds of shows. Check us out on the web, downanddirtyshow.com, at JimBeaver15 on social media. Big thanks to Polaris Razor, General Tire, 4 Wheel Parts, Vision Wheel, MyMedic.com. Use the coupon code JimBeaver. It'll get you 15% off at MyMedic.com. Gibson Exhaust, Dirtfish, MotoShield Pro, my good friends at Super ATV. And if you're looking for 15% off at Dirtfish, make sure and use the coupon code JBDirtfish, and that will get you 15% off any and all classes. Thanks to everybody that has used that coupon code, and keep spreading the word, man. I love to absolutely love when you guys use that coupon code, they know, hey, you tune into the Down and Dirty Radio Show. That is right. I am taking a break next week, don't forget, but we will have Project Action dropping, but I'll be on social media, be answering fan questions. Make sure and hit me up, and if you got any guest suggestions, let me know, because we got episode number 400 coming up, and I'd like to get the biggest and best back on for that. All right, we'll see you next week right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.